So yesterday I had a really great 2 hour intensive with an artist who's really on a journey to kind of really find, you know, what the career looks like. I think every artist, goes on a journey of who they are as an artist, what they're trying to say, what their skill sets are, what their voice is, what their message is. And that's a journey all its own that every artist needs to embark on and do that discovery work to really find their core message. And we've talked about that a lot. But one of the things that happens in Nashville often is that there's also a lot of different ways to structure a career journey, a career path, if you have diversified skill sets. So, one of the things that we hear a lot in conversations in Nashville is around songwriting and a career as a songwriter and maybe adding to that some talents in production and being able to produce songs. Maybe that includes some recording ability, some engineering ability, and having the ability to demo in what a career looks like from that perspective versus the entertainer, the live performer, which has somehow been dubbed the artist path. And so in the 2 hour intensive yesterday, it really was getting to me, like, actively in the conversation, that the entertainer career path has somehow been dubbed the artist path. It was just starting to really bother me that that's called the artist path when, and then a songwriter in some way is not considered an artist. Now, I get why this is that we have dubbed recording artists as the artist. Um, we really dropped off that part of that title, right? Calling the performer and the person who has the records, they were called recording artists, and that really is the clarification. They are recording artists, so their art is in the recording. It's central to the recording, and I think you also have entertainers and performers who aren't recording artists. And in our specific intensive yesterday, and in our conversation, we talked a lot about you know this expectation that artists have to be what this young um, this young man called an influencer. And so we really spent a lot of time breaking down what is an artist. An artist is a creative, somebody who is creating. So that can be a lot of different things. It can be, they can create the songs, recordings. It's no matter what you're creating, if you're an active part of that creative process, then you should be owning the artist title. So if you're a songwriter, you are an artist. If you are maybe you're only a recording artist and you're not the songwriter, but you're very involved in the performance, crafting the songs, the arrangements, all that stuff, like, you're an artist. So it's important to always be holding on to that artist title if you are a creative and if you're involved in the creative process. But an equally important title is recognizing if what you are really hoping to do and hoping to be is an entertainer. And I think that's the biggest clarification for career paths is what is the priority? To be busy as an entertainer, to be entertaining, people regularly and to be a face, which includes fame and notoriety in a lot of ways. Doesn't have to, but for the most part, the easiest way, fastest way to become a sought after entertainer is fame and notoriety. And then really kind of getting down to what an influencer is, because I think this gets thrown around a lot where, artists are being told, or I more so I'm hearing from artists that they don't want to be considered influencers or they don't want to work like an influencer. And so we spent a minute breaking down what an influencer is, and really an influencer, where the term comes from, is this kind of early social media transition from just being connected with our friends to actually leveraging that connection that people had on social media for commerce, right? Which was basically, this person has a lot of followers, they have a lot of connections, and brands were identifying, if we do a collaboration with them, they can influence their connections with purchasing power, right? And so now somebody who had a lot of connection on social could influence purchasing power. So there was all of this opportunity for commerce from brand deals and things like this. So when an artist tells me that they're not an influencer or that they don't want to be an influencer, that's a fine answer, except for that the job is to make sure that, like, what is the product? The product is either the performance. So if it's the performance, then the product, what is the sale? What is the financial exchange? Is probably a ticket, purchasing a ticket. If you're a recording artist and not as much focused on the entertainer path, then it's streams or consumption of the music. And so when somebody tells me that they don't want to be an influencer, that's fine. My question is always, what is the plan? What is the strategy to get people to engage financially in some way? So either to buy a ticket or to stream the music. And these tactics that influencers use to create the viability to do brand deals where they can help a brand sell a product, those tactics work almost just as well for an artist to influence people to listen to their music. So it's just tactics, it's just communication styles and ways of connecting with people, none of which you have to do. No one has to do. No one has to be on TikTok. No one has to be an influencer. Nobody has to use those communication tactics to propel their career forward. But if you're deciding that you don't want to do that, you really have to answer the question of, how are you going to communicate with people that is moving them towards purchasing those products if you're not using the social media influencer communication style, right? So that's kind of where we started, because this expectation that artists have to be influencers was really moving the career trajectory towards hoping to land a publishing deal based off of their songwriting skill set. Because at the core of this conversation was the desire to make a living off of the art, to make a living being a creative, and ultimately to avoid a day job or a soul sucking way to make money. And repeatedly through the conversation, I was like, there may not be a way to avoid that while properly setting yourself up for a long career as a creative, because any of the tactics that you use to create revenue quickly as an artist eliminate your possibility of high returns. And what do I mean by that? The way to make money quickly as a creative is to convince somebody else that there is a lot of revenue opportunity from your art down the road. And this goes back, you know, centuries. This goes back to, you know, artists having I'm spacing on the term right now that the classic artists had, where they just had financial support. You know, they had donors, they had supporters who were paying for them to be artists, either for their own social prestige because the art was then displayed in their buildings or in their homes, or just the reputation of being able to say, I commissioned this art piece, by having that connection to the art, and that influences their status in culture. So this way of making your entire day full of creative process is really centered around not being in the position to earn the most from that art. Like somebody else is banking on you becoming a great artist, and they're going to be the one who gets the most value out of that. And so what does that look like as a songwriter? That looks like a publishing deal, especially an early onset publishing deal, more than likely from a large publishing outfit who has a lot of disposable income, which means that they can fund you to do the thing, to write the songs, and maybe give you an advance on whatever you write. And maybe that's a 2-year deal, maybe that's a 3-year deal. You know, the specifics change all the time, but it's fairly disposable income for them, and they are banking on the fact that, like, maybe you will write a smash hit during that time that you're with them. I think there's a lot of ideas that those large publishing outfits will facilitate a lot for the writers, and sometimes I think that's true. If the person, if your representative, your A&R rep at that company is really excited about you, then that's going to be the case. But it also might be where they're just securing the long tail and letting you do your work the way you do it, and not really facilitating that much, and they're just funding it, which is really, really risky for songwriters. You know, even getting that opportunity is super competitive, right? It's super competitive. But even if you get that, it's then super risky because of two things that can happen. Either you complete your term, your deal, and you didn't write a smash that is giving you the opportunity that you need to recoup on the advance and continue your deal, and then you are at risk of being dropped. And then once you're dropped, it really can be like a scarlet letter. It really is hard to overcome getting dropped from a pub deal because you didn't deliver. And delivering is really, really hard, you know, especially with the volume of art that's going into the world. So It's super competitive to get those deals. I don't even know how many of those deals are happening on a regular basis. I think there's a lot of false um, information, misinformation going out that those deals are readily available. I'm not even sure that they are. And even if you get them, they're still really risky if you don't have songs that are already generating meaningful revenue. So this songwriter path, thinking that there's a way to, secure a publishing deal and avoid the day job through that route might be possible, but is like I said, super risky. And so then you move to the entertainer, the artist path, which is, the more familiar, challenging, hard road where you have to figure out how to communicate who you are, what you are with an audience. And that's where the easiest and fastest way to connect with the largest audience is using influencer tactics on social media platforms to build that audience. Now, there's other ways to do it, they just take longer. That's just the truth of the matter. And during that time, you have to figure out how you're making money. And so then you end up in the same situation. Now, in our intensive yesterday, this was not so much the case. But for a lot of people, this is where they go, I'm an entertainer. I love entertaining. And so I'm going to, I'm going to find ways to use my skill set as an entertainer to pay my bills, which looks like cover gigs, corporate gigs, and things like that. And then you kind of run into the same type of risks where now you're super busy as a cover artist, corporate artist, because you are a good entertainer. And so that is sought after. But that's not actually building an audience because those the people that are at those gigs, as you find out, just aren't, they're fans of music, but they're not really the fans that love discovering new music. So they are very very often low engagement with your original music, and hard to actually move over towards your original music. And then those types of gigs are also very exhausting. They take a lot of work, and they take a lot of your creative energy, so that it's hard to bring the energy towards the things that are going to build an audience for you as an original music entertainer. And so it's not to say that the only path forward for artists is like to not try and pay your bills with music. But the truth is that for most artists that I talk to who have big goals of meaningful careers, the answer is working at 7-Eleven, being a barista at a coffee shop, some sort of income base that allows you to set your career goals in a long-term format of where when these things are successful, like writing a song as a songwriter, writing a song that is generating income before ever signing a publishing deal, so that the publishing deal is educated by success, not the hope for success. And then same thing as an artist, like creating music that is connecting with an audience, not the potential of it connecting with an audience, where you end up with, what a lot of people call industry darlings and things like that. And so, part of career planning is figuring out a way to pay your bills that allows you to still have the energy to do whatever creative process you're hoping to do. And not having the creative process be responsible for that income, especially if it's a version of your creative process, but not truly what you want to be doing. And so that's the challenge. So, like I said, new format for us, new podcasts happening, connecting in the Discord, hanging out with everybody. Going to be doing these drive chats as I drive in from Pegram to Nashville, back and forth. So hop in. We'll do some Q and A's. Some opportunity to dig in and go deeper on some topics. So hope everybody's doing well. Make sure to leave a comment in the Discord. Let's start some conversations. Let's have some follow-up questions, and tell a friend. Bring an artist friend into this community, if you can. We'd love to meet more people. Lots of big fun plans for the rest of this year and into 2023. So hope everybody's doing well. Can't wait to talk with you all soon.